The City Double Cash Card presents tips for watching sports with your friends. Number 5, be passionate.
Oh, shouting what I would have done on that last play.
I am way too invested in this.
Check it out. I'm completely overreacting, so you know I care.
Wouldn't it be great if everyone said what they meant? The City Double Cash Card does. It lets you earn double cash back with 1% when you buy and 1% as you pay. The City Double Cash Card. Double means double.
This is the best of the Dan LeBatard show with the Stugotz podcast.
Look at that. The bad guy's back. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in on a Monday and for the rest of the week. The Dan LeBatard show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. You can save hundreds on your car, business, or recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com today. Now that's Progressive. And the Dan LeBatard show is brought to you by Upside. Now save big on travel and get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside. That's Upside.com. All right, y'all. I'm here all week. Football's back. Huge start to the Premiership season. Cristiano Ronaldo gets suspended 12 games. I'm just kidding. I've got a football game on my television right now. I happen to be in D.C. That's where I live. That's where I work. But some of you who've heard me on these here airwaves before know that I'm not exactly huge into football. But I'm making a renewed effort this year. And you know what I did? I did something I haven't done since I was like 13 years old. I went and bought a prospectus magazine on the shelf, off the shelf, if you will, from an airport. Why did I do that? Well, because I figure if every single person who decides they're going to protest at a national anthem is going to be in the NFL these days, I should probably get used to some of these depth charts, since that tends to move guys out of the league. But it happened quite a bit in week 1 of the preseason. A lot of guys decided to sit. A lot of guys decided that they didn't want to, let's just say, honor the national anthem in the same way that other players do. It's pretty interesting, right? I mean, I thought that all of that was disrespectful. And I thought that that's what we're told. But it seems if more guys are going to do it, more guys are going to end up out of the league, right? I'm being facetious here, all right? What went on this weekend today, or not today, today we're going to talk about quite a bit. Because there's no separating what we saw from certain players on the gridiron to what we saw in other parts of America. Theoretically, there is, but it's all in the same pot. It's all the same sort of stuff. So believe we're going to get to that. Don't think that we won't. Let's hear what Michael Bennett had to say about his decision to sit during the national anthem.
I hope that I can activate everybody to get off their hands and feet and go out to the communities and push helping each other, sit down with somebody that's the opposite sex, sit down with somebody that's the opposite race, different religion, understand that people are different and go out and, join the community and try to change your society, change what you're a part of. If you don't like it, keep changing and realize, let kids know that they got power. Just because you're an athlete and people say, hey, just because you're making money, you have this Nike endorsement, you have this endorsement, you're not a part of that society. At the end of the day, you are part of that society. No matter where I go, I'm still a black man, and I can't get away from that. I can't get away from the past transgressions of America, what's happened. But what I want to do to be a part of is the change of the kids, the change of society, and continuously push that.
You can expect this every week in the NFL. Don't think that this is going to go away. So when you see that Colin Kaepernick is not on a team, when you see people saying, oh, I don't want any politics with my sports, when you see people saying, I do this as a distraction, well, when the players themselves are making a statement, you can't really avoid that there now, can you? It's not exactly easy to say that the two things aren't separated or shouldn't be together when the actual human beings playing the actual games are the ones who are actually talking about it. That, to me, was one of the most important things about how this whole situation has unfolded. Kaepernick is just one guy. And although his efforts have been lauded by many and people are going to be, I think, somewhat irrationally demonstrating outside of the NFL offices, If you don't think that there was a level of empowerment there that happened, well, then your cord's unplugged. This ain't gonna be no one-off for preseason week 1. And what more can you ask for if you're a guy like a Kaepernick? You've made the intended effect. Here's what Michael Bennett had to say about why more people aren't protesting.
I think at this point, everybody's scared of the ridicule, what can happen in this day and age. Everything's fast and quick. It's microwavable. Socially, you can be attacked. Physically, you can be attacked. But at some point in time, you got to spiritually be able to accept what's coming for you. You have to be able to stand upright, and stand for what you believe in. And I believe there's so much inequality going on, so much segregation, that I just want to change that. I think if we all believe that, we have a place in it, and we all can connect on this level and become selfless in this society and believe that we all make a difference, and I think it would be powerful. Why just on Sunday can't we connect on this level? Why can't just black and white players connect on Sundays? Why can't we connect in the community? Why can't we connect to make change? Why can't fans connect on Sunday for one team? Why can't they connect to see what's going on in the world?
You're listening to the Dan LeBatard Show. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in here on ESPN Radio. That was Michael Bennett. And he's right. A lot of guys are scared, but a lot of people aren't. I just think that this is going to be so interesting to see how this is going to develop over the course of the NFL season. They got all these new rules for celebrations, for dancing. You get in the end zone, you make a political statement. It's a little different situation than what you're doing during the national anthem. I fully expect to see a fair amount of guys making commentary on the social situation in America after they get into the end zone. Then what's the league going to do? That becomes a real sticky situation if you start flagging guys or fining them for comments that have to do with what happens in this country from a brutality and discrimination standpoint. Because that doesn't look good. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. I don't go to training camps. I don't cover football. But the natural progression of where this is lends me to think pretty much every Sunday we're going to see at least one person probably score a touchdown to make some statement that has to do with how people of color are treated in this country. I don't really know how ready for that the average NFL fan is. I'm not really sure that the average NFL fan even wants that. But they're going to get it. They're going to get it because of guys like Michael Bennett. They're going to get it because of what you see happening all across the country. They're going to get it because NFL players, white and black, are discussing this matter. And there's just no way around it. Look what happened in Charlottesville. Charlottesville, where the University of Virginia is. University of Virginia's got a reasonably popular football program. A lot of guys who played there are in the NFL. Kyle Long is one of those such dudes. Chris Long is another one of those dudes. The Long boys. Mike, I'm not sure if it's Chris or Kyle we have, but let's hear what they had to say about Charlottesville as a place.
People ask, you're from Charlottesville? It kind of leaves a bad taste in their mouth, thinking that one of their guys is from Charlottesville, where they see all these rallies and stuff happening. Like I said, don't let a few bad apples ruin what is really true about Charlottesville and that area. It's good folks there. Grew up with really good people. I got buddies who are in the police department. I got a lot of family and friends out there. So it's a strange time. And like I said, the more we can do right to each other and act accordingly when presented with the situation, then the better off we'll be.
That was Kyle Long. Sorted that one out. And he's talking about Charlottesville, but let's not forget why this happened there. Confederate statues, yada, yada. I don't want to get too far down that line, but Virginia is a school that was started by one of the founding fathers who also happened to be a person who owned slaves. You know, This is just the reality of America. And if this is being discussed so openly by football players, the league's going to have to do a little bit more. They're not just going to be able to sweep this under the rug and say, oh, that's just Colin Kaepernick's deal. And that's not to say they didn't know that these people have done this before. This has been building. But every week is going to be a different week in the NFL, and I am fascinated, as much as I am by anything that's going to happen on the field that I may or may not have learned from this magazine that I bought this week or from watching NFL Network 24/7. But every week on the field is going to be an interesting stage and platform to see what guys are going to do to talk about how they feel about the state of affairs in America. There's a small part of me that's genuinely excited about this. And I don't mean that in a confrontational way. I mean that in a creative and fun manner. Not every protest or statement has to be something that's militant or otherwise revolutionary. But it can be something that means something to somebody and that makes people feel good about themselves. Marshawn Lynch is my number one candidate for this. That dude is definitely going to do something to make sure you know how he feels about this situation. I got a buddy who tweeted, what if Marshawn Lynch unretired just so that he could protest national anthems? Which is a hilarious idea if you ask me. You know why? Because that's his right. That's what people fight for. That's what people stand for. It's not just so that you can tell football players to stay in their place because they happen to have a skill that allows them to make quite a bit of money. Dudes got their voices, and they're empowered. And they're going to keep using them as long as they have the platform to. And ultimately, I think that is better for the league. I'm Clinton Yates. You're listening to the Dan LeBatard Show on ESPN Radio. Clinton Yates filling in here on a Monday, talking about football. All y'all jumping in my mentions. Number one rule is, if you step in my mentions incorrectly, I will embarrass you in front of your friends and family, and I won't apologize. Understand that. Number two, it always makes me laugh the point people choose to insert, or rather remove themselves from the realities of what football players think when it comes to sports, or really any athlete. This one guy tweeting me, tuning into the show. Like Clinton Yates, comes in, he's talking politics, I'm out. And I'm like, I'm only just discussing what the players themselves are talking about. So at what point do you as a fan completely ignore every single thing about the actual guys you see on the field? It's a genuine question. Because for me, half the fun of liking sports is liking the actual people as best as you can. That's what being a fan is about. And that's why they have their names on their jerseys and why they have numbers at all. Otherwise, there would just be robots running around bashing each other's heads in. Some people think it's too much like that anyway. But the NFL now, having had the Kaepernick situation be a story all offseason, they're going to jump right into this every single Sunday. And if things like what happened in Charlottesville are going to keep going down, you better believe it's going to be a topic of discussion every single week in every single press box in every single locker room in the NFL. Chris Long, some of you are familiar with his work. He had some pretty fire takes on the Twitter box. Here's what he wrote. This was 2 days ago. Wow. To think that failure to condemn white supremacy is a form of political self-preservation in America right now. Tough day. Yeah, those are strong words. This is not, there's no way to avoid what he's talking about. So when you come after people saying keep your sports out of politics, well, the people in sports are the ones in the politics. So you're not making sense, fam. We got a cut from Chris Long as well. Let's hear that.
People can have the worst opinion in the world, but, America's founded on giving the opportunity for free speech. But, I do think it's despicable. And at the same time, it's hard not to get angry. I don't know if that's what the point of those rallies is, to piss everybody off, but certainly you see it and you're just angry.
Chris Long is on the all woke list, by the way, Mike, if you were wondering.
Charter member,
at least in the NFL. I might have to come up with the list of this. We might have to have an all woke team list by the end of the week.
Yeah, Adam Silver is on the list. Adam Silver is probably the commissioner of said league, of said list.
I don't know that Adam Silver makes the all play. Like he's in a different capacity. You know how they get guys in as like broadcasters or whatever. I'm mixing all sorts of metaphors here with my Hall of Fame and my team list. I don't care.
I'm trying to follow.
He's in as the commish because the NBA is obviously, but that's different. He's almost in by default. But Chris Long's on the list. I'm trying to think of other dudes. We might have some surprises this year on the all woke list. People who you didn't expect to come out and say stuff. I suspect we'll also have some people on the all false allies list as well. But we ain't got there yet. I'm in a better mood than that. So I ain't got to call people out just yet on that front. But I think that let's just say, for example, guys start scoring touchdowns and then going full Tommy Smith celebration, fist in the air. Like, how do you think people are going to react to that? I mean, that is known effectively as the Black Power salute. And the first guy who does that in the league, I don't know. I can't even think of how that's going to go down. Because it's easy to get caught up in the hype of, the NFL coming back and it's exciting. You got a new season and all that. But people say that they didn't watch the NFL. Whether or not you agree with these polls, these numbers or not, numbers are down. A lot of people sort of randomly cite Kaepernick and things of the like as a result. If one of these guys ends up being a guy on every single team every single week, well, then who gets the last laugh in that scenario?
Clinton, I have a question because Malcolm Jenkins is going to continue his fist up protest during the national anthem. I mean, not that I want to compare things, but a knee compared to maybe Marshawn Lynch wearing a beanie and not really paying attention to the anthem at all, isn't a knee sort of innocuous? Is it the power of the position in the NFL? Is it Kaepernick's more famous, but Marshawn Lynch is more famous than Kaepernick?
Yeah.
I know the position has so much power, but what is this?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. What does a quarterback do versus what a lineman does versus what a running back does? I think there is some value in that in terms of a more leadership lending position is one that is going to bring more eyeballs to it. But I don't actually think the specificity of the physical stance is what matters here. I think it was just the fact that Kaepernick took a knee at all that sort of made people mad. It wasn't really as much about the weight, like the physical position. But I think that there's a very different element here to protesting during the game versus protesting before a game. And that's where I think this is going to go this season is what I'm saying. I think you're going to see far more on-field, in-play demonstrations related to things like this than you are ever before. And I don't know that America is ready for that. Actually, I would go so far as to say I know for a fact that America is not ready for that. Because that's going to be real awkward when basically every owner in the league is dealing with this now, as opposed to just the people that were willing to step up and say that they weren't going to sign Colin Kaepernick because their fans are finally calling in and, talking to them. Since owners are in the business of listening to their fans, we all believe that. No, we don't. We don't believe it at all. The NFL is going to be must-watch TV every Sunday for reasons that have nothing to do with football, and that makes me extremely, extremely happy. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in here on the Dan LeBatard Show. Coming up, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the NFL season. May or may not be about politics. May or may not be about the Dallas Cowboys. Got a story here I want to review, but first I'm going to go over some of these tweets. Stopped watching political shows years ago due to nonsense. Football has always been a good distraction. Don't need nonsense here, too. Okay. I guess you're not going to be watching a whole lot of this. Guys, please come back to work soon. This guy's like the teacher in Charlie Brown. Okay. I don't want to have to get loud and start yelling at people all day like I normally do. So I'm staying a little bit subdued at this moment. I could be angry black guy if that's what you need. I have a very large amount of pitches in my arsenal. We can go soft. We can even go distinguished, if you will. Or I can start yelling at you like I'm on the street corner yelling at kids that are on my lawn. Either one. All up to you. At Clinton Yates, the league can be forced into a position to be an unwilling point in an actual discussion instead of political lip service. I think what he's trying to say there is that the league might actually have to take a stance against something instead of just telling people what they should or should not be doing. At Clinton Yates, when will the country be ready? If hundreds of players gave us a Carlos Smith, referring to the Black Power salute, would the league S-can them all? Probably not, which is my point. At Clinton Yates, I listen to Sports Talk to get a break from the politics. The I'm out tweet may be similar. You are right. It must be discussed. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I got a link from a buddy who sent me a story in the Washington Post. My man Master wrote it. Master Tesfastian. You might be familiar with his work. He covers the skins for the Washington Post, paper I used to work for. And the headline says, does Baltimore want Colin Kaepernick? We asked 21 Ravens fans. The answer, it's complicated. I'm just going to read from this story because this is fascinating in my opinion. This guy, Greg Marshall, 29, he says, man, I definitely do. I think he would bring a lot more excitement back to the team. After the loss of Ray Rice, we kind of hit a decline on morale. I think he'll bring a lot of morale back to the team, and I don't think they should look at his political views because he's here to play football. It should be noted that the Ravens signed Thad Lewis today. Journeyman wouldn't even begin to describe what Thad Lewis is. So they ain't getting Kaepernick. And I don't expect really any team to get Kaepernick. And I don't really think that this is what this is all about at this point. For me, look, Kaepernick's struggle itself to get back in the league is one thing. But now that we've actually got football again, I think a little bit of the spotlight goes off of him specifically. I don't think week to week you're going to be hearing about what roster he's on or not on, because there are plenty of other people filling that void. But it should be an interesting one. Marty Murphy has been a Ravens fan since their first season in 1996. Marty Murphy appears to be a white guy from this picture. And it says, I would want Kaepernick. He would bring an extremely dangerous mobile threat to the team that they've never had before, first of all. Second of all, he would be reunited with Greg Roman, the Ravens offensive assistant and tight ends coach, who he was with for the Niners earlier. And it says the comfort level would already be there. Okay, so that's 2-4. Let's see some of these other ones. E.J. Johnson, Ravens fan since 96, says, I think he gives the team the best chance to win. He says he thinks he's better than Flacco. Mac George, 23, says it's 50-50. Some people don't like it because of his stance and all that, but if he can, he is here to help, so I will take him. About the protest, the same guy says, I mean, I get what he's trying to say. I understand it. I kind of see that he could have done it a different way, but I don't know how I would handle it. I think he could have done it differently, but I support what he stands for, but I think that I wouldn't say it ruined his career, but put a standstill on it. That's a good way to put that. I don't look at Colin Kaepernick's career as a failure of any sort. But I think that at this point, you've got to say that his protest was successful. And not in the sense of ending racism or police brutality, but in the sense of using his leverage in a league as popular as the NFL to make people pay attention to something that they probably otherwise wouldn't have. It is undeniable that he's been successful in that regard. Mike, would you not agree? If nothing else, he has made this a talking point in the NFL, which has the biggest league in America, is about as good of a result as you can get from this outcome, considering he's just one person.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
So good for him.
It's his legacy now.
Yeah. Colin Kaepernick, for lack of a better term, wins in this situation. Now, to be clear, I think that this notion of protesting the league office is, I don't want to go so far as to say idiotic, but it's misguided. For as much as I have admiration for Colin Kaepernick and all the things that he's chosen to do in terms of not just protesting at NFL games, that's one thing. But I'm talking about what he's done in terms of trying to outfit homeless people with suits for job interviews, money and food he's given as aid, his support for urban farming, things of that ilk. I've been very impressed with him. But going so far as to say that I need to protest in front of the NFL building unless he's on a team, that just doesn't make sense here. Because what he's trying to do is not only about football. He's trying to bring awareness to an issue that he feels is one of importance in the country. The news headlines alone are supporting that theory. Hanging out on Roger Goodell's front porch and screaming and yelling has nothing to do with what you see happening in the streets of America. Those two things are separate. Important and together, but if the cause is about something more, admittedly from Kaepernick, well, then taking it to the league office is a little bit of a waste of breath. Kaepernick's legacy is secure, and people are going to remember him as the guy that forced the NFL and forced NFL fans to take a look at everything other than just what's happening between the lines on Sunday. And when Colin Kaepernick came into this league, I don't think a lot of people thought that that was going to be what they ended up thinking when he left. I'm Clayton Yates. I'm filling in for Dan LeBatard. It's ESPN Radio.
Don't forget, you can hear more of my sons Dan and Stu weekdays starting at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan LeBatard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, Stugotz, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan LeBatard.
You're just allowed to give me one word on what you think. I tell you, American flag, you give me one word on what you think. Go ahead, Chris. You're only allowed one word.
Freedom.
That's what I was going to go with.
Stugotz.
Guillermo.
Bald Eagles.
What?
It's 2 words.
Well,
I mean, God, $2.
That's a fine.
$2. I mean,
That's a fine.
Do you realize? How hard it is to be that bad with 2 words, man?
apple pie.
I got 2 words for you.
This is the Dan LeBatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Joining us on the show, Pennzoil Performance Line, Coach Herm Edwards. How you doing today, Herm?
I am good, my friend. I am good. We got a lot happening right now in the National Football League.
We do have a lot happening right now, and I want to go straight to the off-the-field stuff. Michael Bennett had a lot to say. I thought it was interesting the way he came out and was so – he said more than he – I mean, listen, Bennett's been an outspoken guy, but he had no problems in week 1 of the preseason basically saying this is going to keep happening, get used to it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I just think, I think sometimes, as we know, sports obviously can cross over to social issues, and I think most fans don't want to hear that. But I think they lose sight of this, that these guys are not just athletes; they're fathers as well. They're citizens, and when you think about what's going on in our country right now, a lot of it reminds me of the '60s when I grew up. Some of the things that I'm witnessing right now, and you look at it and I say, I've seen that, I've done that, I've been there, and it's rearing its head again. And you would think we were further along than that, but obviously we're not. And anytime you have protests, especially you would hopefully they're never violent, they're nonviolent. That's the American way, and I just think sometimes athletes, because of their position, speak out, fans get upset. Say, well, I just want him to be an athlete. Well, he's not an athlete. That's just his profession. He's a husband. He's a father. He's a citizen of the community he lives in. So all those things are a factor as well.
Do we think that I've posited, Coach, that this is going to be the season where you're going to see this move, not just from pregame things and postgame things, but maybe do in-game things as well, such as touchdown celebrations and the like. From a football standpoint, how do you think that's going to go across to the common fan if you see some guy, let's just say, raise a black power fist after scoring a touchdown?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting what the league decides to do as well, because the league obviously always worries about their image. I do know this. I think if more guys continue to sit and not abide, by what most teams would like to do, to, stand up for the national anthem, you might see the league just saying, okay, well, then we won't get introduced until the national anthem is played. So it's not, so it doesn't pose a problem or doesn't give this image of, this guy, what is this guy sitting down for? So I just think that's going to get talked about. I just got a feeling that's coming down the road because I know how the league operates. And there's some times anyway where pregame warm-up, I've been in a couple deals where the national anthem was played before we got out on the field, just because of the timing of it. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle this.
We're talking with Herm Edwards here on the show, Pennzoil Performance Line. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in on a Monday for Dan LeBatard. Do you think Colin Kaepernick, for lack of a better term, has won in the context of what he was trying to do with this league and what his statements were?
Well, I think what he did is he put his career in a little bit of jeopardy in the fact that he stood up for a social issue. He was actually the voice of the voiceless, and I think now when you look at owners, they're going, okay. The question, and I've said this numerous times, the question that the owners have right now is not his athletic talent, and can he come into your organization and maybe help you as a backup quarterback. The fact of the matter is that they're looking at it and saying, hey, if this guy comes in our locker room, he's not the starting quarterback. Is he going to use his platform to be a distraction to our football team? And owners are going, well, I don't want that. And so guess what? This is a business, and we can decide who we want to hire and who we don't want to hire. We have a right to do that, just like he has a right to voice his opinion. We have a right to select the players that we want on our team, and I think that's what's kind of happening to him right now.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit to football, actual football, as an on-field play. Football, yeah. Was there anything you saw, not that week one of the preseason is anything major, but was there anything you saw across the league that caught your eye from the first round of games? Well,
obviously, all the talk is about the young quarterbacks, and rightly so, because when the quarterback position is played well in our league, or just any league, football's better. And we had some rookies to go out their first outing. Deshaun Watson doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, I think he's going to be the starter there. But Trubisky, he had some things, played pretty good. Mahomes played pretty good, So you had some young guys. Kaiser got the fans interested. Now all the fans are saying, start the guy, right? But, as you know, the first preseason game, it's pretty vanilla. I mean, defenses are going to run maybe one or two coverages. You're not going to see a lot of things. But with that being said, they're on a level playing field, and you like what you saw out of these guys. If you're one of those organizations that drafted one of these kids, you're excited that they got through it, and they look like a quarterback. They processed information. They got the team out of the huddle. They didn't make bad decisions with the ball. Just the little nuances, to play the position. They did good, and so that's good. That's a good start. It's not like if the guy went out there and threw 3 interceptions, you're going, oh my word. Now the fans are saying the guy's a bust already, right? You got to deal with that one. So now all these fans are saying, start the guy.
That's funny. How do you feel about the Indianapolis situation? I mean, Luck, it's up in the air with the injury. If you're a coach of that team or involved in that front office, how do you handle this? It seems like they're caught between two spots.
They are. They're going to have to get another guy in there. They're going to look for another veteran quarterback. And the owner already said it won't be Kaepernick. That's interesting.
Right.
And I know Irsay. That doesn't surprise me. But I think at the end, they got to get a guy because, he's got a shoulder. And you don't know. I mean, you're hoping for the best, and I'm hoping for the best because this kid, Luck can really be special. It's a shame what has happened to him. I mean, the last couple of years, his first couple of years, he kind of put the team on his back, and now he's getting hit a lot. He's had numerous injuries already in a young career, and you're hoping that this guy can get well because he can be special. If he's surrounded with some people that can protect him, he can really be a good player. But they need to go out and find a veteran quarterback.
Weird. There's a guy hanging out, just chilling. God forbid you put him on the roster. Last thing I'm going to ask you, Coach, is what do you think about Jay Cutler in Miami? Is that going to work? Like, I love Jay Cutler as a dude. I don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback.
Well, he doesn't have to be a great quarterback. He just has to be a quarterback that manages games, don't turn the ball over. And that's been to his detriment. That has been his problem. Now, he's been on a lot of teams that have lost. And I've always said this. Here's the problem when you play quarterback or you're the coach. Your record travels with you. Your record is your record. It doesn't travel with any other player. Okay? But it travels with the quarterback. Now, there's a lot of people that were involved in those wins, not just the quarterback. He gets the credit for the wins as well as the head coach. And there's a lot of people that are credited with those losses, but it goes on the head coaches and the quarterback's record. No one else. Right? So people always look at the record. Look at his record. Yeah, okay. Well, he didn't lose them games by himself now. There was actually 10 other guys on the field that helped him lose those games as well as win those games. But there lies the problem. But I think he's in a system that he knows very well. He's on a team that a lot of people projected them to be in the playoffs. I was on the other end of it and said, I don't know. They're a 50-50 proposition, even with Tannehill being well. Remember, this team won. They were 8-2 with games 7 or less. They won. That's a lot of tight games. Right. I don't know what they've done to fix their run defense. When I look at it, 140 yards a game. I don't know if they fixed that yet. So there's a lot of situations here that you look at and you go, well, they're not a given to get in the playoffs. But here's the funny part. You think the New England Patriots aren't laughing right now? The Buffalo Bills traded half of their team. The Jets are in a rebuilding mode. The Miami Dolphins don't have a quarterback. They got Jay Cutler. The New England Patriots are looking at their division and going, well, the worst-case scenario, we're what? We're 5-1 or 6-0, right, in division.
It's true. They got an easy path. He's Herm Edwards. He's an ESPN NFL analyst. You can see him every week. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, my friend.
Mike Ryan, we got to go back to the beginning of this segment. You obviously dropped that song in for me. Please tell me what it was.
Real McCoy. That was Runaway.
Okay.
That was probably their biggest hit.
That's probably their biggest hit. Right.
That or Another Night.
Another Night, the one you were singing during the break. I wish we had been rolling on that. That's what I want to listen to.
I can play it for you right now.
No, I want you to sing it. That's way more fun.
Another night, another dream, but always you. It's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always true. In the night, I dream of loving you.
Well done.
Adore you.
That is what you tune in for. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Dan LeBatard on ESPN Radio. What's this?
It's Nice and Wild.
Nice and Wild, is that the name of the song or the name of the group?
It's the name of the group. Diamond Girl is obviously the name of the song.
Pardon me. It's been a music education kind of day. Mike Ryan letting me know that he doesn't know what's going on with Cardi B. We're going to move on from that, though, because we're going to revisit something we visited in the last hour, which is that Ice Cube and LeVar Ball had a shootout at the 4-point spot in the Big Three. Now, I'm all for those of you who know me. You've heard me say I got a lot of side sports that I watch, and I'm kind of a wacky sports theory guy. I'm not like super huge into it, but there are certain things that I honestly believe if you changed like one quick fundamental thing about a sport or a rule or a regulation, you'd get a drastically different sort of angle on the game that would be extremely, extremely fun. Like I've got a whole breakdown system of why I think the NHL playoffs should have shootouts. It's a whole system. I can explain that later in the week. We'll get to that later. But when they had the 4-point shootout at this Big Three game, where was it, Mike? Was it in LA?
Staples.
Stopless. So they're at Stopless. And they have a 4-point shot in that league. But it's like a dot on the ground. It's this big ugly thing that looks very MTV Rockin' Jockish. But I'm of the belief that in real actual basketball, like 94 feet, shot clocks, etc., 2 hoops, any shot beyond half court should be worth 4 points. That's it. That's really the only change. Now you want to tell me, oh, wow, that's ridiculous. What's the slippery slope? What are we going to do next? Well, there was a time when the three-point line didn't exist either. People thought that was crazy. Turns out it's pretty vital to the game now. And I've chalk-talked this theory with some level of seriousness. The main reason I would want it is because it would drastically change the way you could play defense at the end of a game. Like if you had a guy who you knew might be able to bang one from deep, kind of got to change your alignment. Opens things up a little bit. Forces first of all, and also, it just forces a higher level of excitement too. You're not going to have specialists coming in. Ooh, you see that guy? You see that guy they picked up in the draft? The Heat just drafted a guy out of Ukraine. He's a 4-point specialist. No, that's not happening. But on the occasion that it did, it would be fun. It'd probably be even more fun in the college game, which I don't even like. Mike Ryan, would you think a 4-point play in basketball?
A 4-point shot?
Shot, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely would be beneficial. As you said, there was a time where there was no 3-point shot. And people, I'm sure the reaction to the 3-point shot, I wasn't alive back then, but I'm sure it was crazy. I don't even think it would be that crazy considering what the Warriors are doing right now.
Right.
Hell, some people are shooting from midcourt.
That's what I'm
only
saying.
counted for 3.
I don't even think it's that wild. Like, I think if you wouldn't have to change anything. I mean, maybe you have to. What would the that's a good call. What would the hand signal be, though? Because now it's one arm up, 2 arms in the air for the 3. Maybe they would have to, do a jumping jack or something every time you hit the 4-point shot?
Yeah, you have to clap the hands together when they're above your head.
A la safety. That'd be fun.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, they do share signals in the sports. So
yeah.
Why
this
not
is a good
make it
idea.
Safety?
I'm
that's
all
a
here
2-point. Damn, we're going to confuse so many people, though.
Oh, no. That's a good point. Maybe, I have a better idea. Jazz hands.
Fire.
Oh, my goodness. That literally just occurred to me. I'm now far more in love with the idea of the 4-point shot if the jazz hands are the symbol to know that you made one.
Right now, I'm pro jazz hands, and if we need to implement a 4-point shot to make it happen, I'm game.
Yes.
The best part about it, though, is not it's that you have to put the one jazz hand up, and then while you raise the other, the jazz would already have to have begun. You couldn't raise it statically and then start it. They would have to be moving prior to reaching peak extension. I love this idea.
I follow.
I'm very here for that. My other sports theories. My theory about hockey, and I'm going to talk hockey in the middle of summer because I don't care, because this is the Dan LeBatard Show.
You're a big hockey fan, aren't you?
I am a big hockey fan. Yeah. Yes.
I just got back into it. I know it's cliche, but I went to Canada for New Year's, and I fell back in love with the sport. It used to be my favorite sport, and then I stopped watching it after the whole second lockout thing.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I went to a job fair out of high school. I owe my entire career to an internship that I got with the Florida Panthers. I was a diehard hockey guy, and the second lockout crushed me.
Okay, so
I think you think I'm joking.
I do think
because I have a very sarcastic delivery often, but no, I'm serious. I used to love hockey. It was my favorite sport, and then I went away from it, and then I went to Canada, and it was the only thing on the television, and I got back into it.
So what I'm going to say next is going to really upset Roy, but I feel very strongly about this. And number one, let me just get this out of the way. I am not some Johnny-come-lately guy who doesn't know anything about pucks. Been watching pucks, and just the NHL is also not the only league in which they play hockey. I covered college hockey. I lived with hockey players in college. I went to minor league games. Hockey is a thing. A lot of those guys played in junior.
I lived with hockey players in college as I knew I had black friends.
Yes. It is, because they introduced me to a lot of things about the hockey world that I would have not known by simply being a person who played NHL 93 all the way through the rest of my life and watching the NHL on television.
Man, you can stick with it one more year. 94 is the best year, man. I'm telling you.
I think 93 is the better game. Better game, in my opinion. In my opinion, personal opinion. My point is that my 3 favorite hockey movies, Slapshot's not on the list and nowhere near it. So just to get into an idea of what I bring to this discussion.
Cool. So we know Mighty Ducks and Mighty Ducks 2. Those are 2 of the 3.
No.
What?
No.
At least
No.
D2.
No.
No.
Youngblood is my favorite hockey movie. You seen Youngblood?
I haven't. Roy just mumbled Keanu Reeves. And if Keanu Reeves is in Youngblood and I did not know that there's a Keanu Reeves movie out there, then this is a slight against me.
You all need to go look up Youngblood. And talk to me about it later. My second favorite hockey movie of all time is Miracle, and my third is a movie called Goon. So just understand where I'm coming from about this.
Yeah, Roy's super pumped that you like Goon. That's it. I know. I'm familiar with Goon that has Sean William Scott in it, right?
Yes, and it's a story about a real guy. It's a great movie, and it's a good actual hockey movie, not like some of this other nonsense.
Is there a knuckle puck?
Are we done with you beating me over the head with the Mighty Ducks? I don't like Mighty Ducks.
My favorite part of Mighty Ducks 2 is that they played a team from Trinidad and Tobago.
Tobago. So anyway, let me get to this point here. The Stanley Cup playoffs are long known as like, you play to the end, you never stop playing, yada, yada. And there's people who think that this is completely crazy and out of this world, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I think that the NHL playoffs should have a tiered system of overtimes that lead to shootouts, and the shootouts should be allowed to be done, A, with no helmet on from the shooter, and B, Olympic-style ordering, meaning you can go again after the first three as long as you like. Roy?
Are you a Capitals fan?
Yes.
Well, that explains everything because you don't have.
Don't try to pull that. Nobody in this audience is going to understand that. And the overtime in general, this has nothing to do with being a Capitals fan. This has to do with a level of excitement and finality that I think would actually make things more exciting. And shooting with no helmets on makes the players a little bit more fun to watch.
Well, they don't have mullets anymore. So you're not going to see all the hair waving as they skate towards the goal.
You can just see faces. But here's how it works. Quarters, you go 1 overtime allowed and then shootout. Next round, 2. Conference finals, 3, then shootout. Stanley Cup, you wave that all off. You're playing all night long. How do we feel about this?
If you say so. I don't agree. I like to stay till the end.
You like staying up till 2 in the morning to watch, 2 random teams skate it out and almost kill each other. That's what you like,
man.
That's what you like? What does that mean? It's the playoffs, man. Tell me, because that's what a hockey fan always comes back with. Yo, it's the playoffs, man.
It's the playoffs.
That doesn't preclude it from being stupid.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying. It's in the best interest of the players in the league and it'd be more exciting. That's just me. Forward-thinking sports fan, Clinton Yates.
Do you remember when Gordon Bombay realized Adam Banks was not eligible to play for the Hawks? That the district boundaries said that he had to play for the Mighty Ducks. It was a game changer for the Ducks.
Yes, it was.
Ducks Radio here on ESPN Radio. Youngblood's a great movie. Miracle's a good movie, too. Goon is a tremendous movie as well. Slapshot is not. Don't come at me in my mentions about Mystery Alaska. I don't want to hear anything more about... I can't even think of another movie right now because I'm so flustered that y'all aren't liking my Stanley Cup playoff hockey theory. It'll be fun. Playing all night long is dangerous for everybody. I'm just saying. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Dan LeBatard here. It's ESPN Radio. I want to thank everybody, by the way, for jumping in my mention to give me your thoughts. It's summertime, so you get random sports yates and my crackpot theories about what should be done. I'm going to read some of these tweets here. Some of you think, like I do, shootouts would make things more exciting. Because that's what shootouts do, Roy. People act like it's like the sacrosanct notion of watching dudes skate all day is like better than watching shootouts. This might be a good time for me to tell you that I enjoy PKs and soccer matches as well. So you can go ahead and jump back in the mentions on that. I know how to work this engagement game, kiddos. But while we're here, we know what time of year it is. It's August, which means I'm watching baseball. And there's a couple stories here from Little League that I got to discuss. As a one-time serious Little League player, watching these young kids play baseball is a very emotional experience for me. Like, I legitimately get real into it in a way that I probably shouldn't. Not like yelling at kids for making dumb plays or whatever, but like having coached the league, obviously, Like, you know what the emotional output level is, to the point that it makes it difficult not to get really caught up in it when you can see a kid either really struggling or really into it. But in regional action, all right, let me break this down. Basically, there's a participation rule in Little League. You have to play everybody. But if you don't play everybody, you can take a 2-game suspension if you're the coach. Now, there was a circumstance with a team from New Hampshire. They were playing Maine, and he had to get a kid in, this one coach, and he didn't put the kid in because he thought it was going to give him some advantage, basically, to not do that. I think I'm getting this right. Yes. And he said the kid didn't want to play. The point is here is that, look, if you're a Little League coach and you're listening to this program, you are a despicable person if you do not find a way to manage the participation rule. It's Little League. The only thing that matters is the kids playing. This is not a spot in hell next to Art Briles situation. But it is certainly one in which I will never, ever, ever feel bad about anyone who has something befall them in a sports context if they can't find a way to play all the daggone kids on the team. What are you doing? I don't understand how this happens. And it used to be, by the way, that you used to have to forfeit a game, I'm fairly certain, if you didn't manage to nail the participation rules. This guy just rolls the dice and says, nah, I'll deal with the suspension if it comes. They lost anyway. But what kind of message does that send? That's your move, fam? Nah, this kid's got to stay on the bench. He told me he might be sick, and I don't really want to put him in a tough spot. That is the weakest of sauce. The other coach said, learning that the guy had made sort of like a calculated gamble, the other coach said, well, then you know what? They should be going home. It's unfortunate for that group of kids, but the coaches, I hope, learn from that. That's not setting a standard. It's too bad. I agree. I was watching a game yesterday. I almost teared up when some kid made a great base running play. That's how serious and intense Little League is. If the dudes or the women running the show are too obsessed with themselves to find a way to get the actual kids doing the play in, it should be more than a 2-game suspension if you botch that, especially if you do it on purpose. You don't need to be coaching kids. You don't need to be involved in any leadership role when it comes to teaching people what it's supposed to be all about. It's baseball. It's the summertime. You get out there, you play. That's what you're there for. I'm not always one to say you follow the rules because the rules are there. Some rules are made to be broken. But this rule is a good rule. Do you watch Little League Baseball, Mike Ryan?
I'd be lying if I said yes.
I love me some Little League Baseball. I used to play Little League Baseball, and it mattered a lot to me. It was my whole world. I couldn't imagine being in a situation like that, where as a child, you don't get to play because some dude is more pressed about his win-loss record in the summer.
I never got a hit in Little League.
What? You never got a hit?
No. Solid on-base percentage, though.
Oh, you got walks.
Yeah. Walks.
Somehow this doesn't surprise
tons
me
of
at all.
walks, tons of stolen bases, tons of runs.
This doesn't surprise me at all. I got a lot of hits.
I got a hit by pitch my first at-bat, and it screwed me up.
That sort of explains everything about you. I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Dan LeBatard Show on ESPN Radio. Play the kids. All the time.
You want more of the Dan LeBatard Show with the Stugotz? Tune in starting at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Dan LeBatard.
They're talking sports, going at it as hard as they can.
Stugotz.
They're talking sandwiches, going at it as hard as they can.
This is the Dan LeBatard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Clinton Yates filling in here on the Dan LeBatard Show on a Monday. Hit me up on Twitter, at Clinton Yates. I'm in D.C., the District of Columbia, the most powerful city in the world. You guys are down in Miami, where they're selling baseball teams willy-nilly left and right. Jeffrey Loria is moving things on to Derek Jeter, but all I'm reading about are reasons why this is not going to work. Headline, the New York Times, Derek Jeter would face problems and possibilities as a baseball owner. Headline, Forbes magazine. One of Derek Jeter's first moves as Marlins owner could be a bad one. How do y'all feel about this down there?
The fact that he's keeping Sampson and Mike Hill? Is that the bad move that they're talking about?
They're talking about something that has to do with like the ownership situation, and there's some sort of a conflict of interest type of deal that I'm not sure I really even understand, but whatever.
But you're speaking just in general. How do we feel about Derek Jeter being the face of the new ownership?
As someone who lives in Miami, yeah. I mean, like, does this move the needle on it? Like, I'm genuinely interested in what, as you know.
Well, you're super happy to get Loria out of there. Yeah. And then the news came down. See, Loria and Sampson are a package deal. Sampson's the president, the team president, and apparently there were reports saying Sampson's gonna stick around, which means he won't be completely free of the Loria years as long as Sampson's here. But I guess the bigger issue is getting Loria the heck out of there. Yeah. So people are overall very happy. The news that Sampson's going to stick around might have dampened some of the happiness, but overall, I think everyone's just thrilled.
How many games a year does the shipping container get to? Collectively, man hours.
Well, Chris, Cody, Fats and Info, and Guillermo, they're season ticket holders.
Okay, I remember. I think we learned this last year. Okay, I learned this last time I was here. They're season ticket holders, but you guys don't go to games. You and Rob.
I've gone to 3 this year. I took Dominique Foxworth to a game.
Shout out to First Class Foxworth.
They have a Clevelander. Obviously, in South Beach, we do our show out of the Clevelander in South Beach, and so the Marlins ballpark actually has a Clevelander as well. And so if you go there, it's actually a cool experience to watch a game. Don't go there if you actually like watching a baseball game, even though you have that option. There's just a lot of stimuli out there.
Yeah. Does Mike Ryan get FaceTime free drinks at the Clevelander in the ballpark at Miami?
I don't get free drinks at the Clevelander, no.
I feel like there should be some sort of associative property there where you're like, you know, hey, we're Clevelander guys. You guys are Clevelander guys. Hook us up.
There's some, yes, there is something along the lines there, but I pay for my drinks and meals that I have out at the lovely Clevelander. Really good people. Can't say that enough.
Yes.
Fantastic people that are running the Clevelander at Marlins Park.
That's right.
Jeter doesn't do anything for me in an ownership standpoint.
Jeter doesn't do anything for you.
No. I mean, like, Jeter doesn't move the needle if I'm a fan of the team becoming an owner.
Why? He was a face of baseball for almost 2 decades.
Yeah, but, like, think about it. I mean, I like Jeter, and I've said this before. This is not a problem. I'm just saying that I don't know that whatever – look, owners in baseball are probably the least visible, you know, in the post-Steinbrenner era of any of the other owners in terms of just sort of the visual landscape of the game. And so, I mean, unless he's going to be out there – I don't even know what an owner does to get people excited about a team. Like, in general, what's he going to do? Show up to every game? Is he going to throw out first pitches? Like, Jeter as a manager is a far more exciting prospect. You know, not that he wants to do that. I'm just saying in terms of being involved in the actual baseball to me than anything having to do with his money and being a big rich guy rolling around on season 4 of Ballers. Jeter spent 20 years in the bigs and was the face of the game because of baseball. And don't get it twisted. His social life, the tabloid life, obviously something that kept him in society, in, you know, sort of celebrity society's headlines for a while. But man, I wish I could see more of Jeter from an actual baseball standpoint. Get some of that knowledge of his from being around the game for so long. as a sort of a nerd about the game. That's what I want from Jeter. Jeter as an investor is almost I don't want to say the worst possible way for him to stay involved in the game and not. But I think it is so far on the fringes of anything that's going to affect a daily baseball fan's life that it's actually a little bit disappointing, personally. I want more Jeter. Like, I'd love to see Jeter in the booth. Mike, do you not think Jeter would be decent in the booth?
Not really. He doesn't say much. What would he give
have
other
to
than
talk
a coy smile?
He would have to talk. I would like Jeter. You watch, how much baseball coverage do you watch? There's a lot of boring views.
Effervescent personality, though.
You don't got to be effervescent.
I don't think he gives off good broadcaster. What Jeter is the captain. Leads by example. Nothing ever really goes wrong on Derek Jeter's watch. And also, most important, I think, he's not Jeffrey Loria.
That's correct.
So we can all get behind that.
That's right.
Fair enough. But I'm saying is that I like sometimes a boring, staid guy to just tell me about the baseball. That's not all I need. Obviously, I'm here for vociferous and boisterous personalities, but Jeter doesn't have to be that in order to succeed. I actually legitimately would like to sit down and watch a baseball game with Derek Jeter and talk about the product on the field. Not gift baskets, not who he's dating. Talk about baseball. That I'm actually interested in. Some of y'all are just haters. You don't think he could do it. I say that as I'm watching an American Legion baseball game on my television right now. That's how much baseball I watch, Mike. I very actively check out lower leagues, lower levels, and go to minor league games on a regular basis.
I have the ultimate faith in Derek Jeter that he could not be Jeffrey Loria. I think that's basically your expectation going into the season. How can Derek Jeter not be Jeffrey Loria? If he wakes up one day and becomes Jeffrey Loria, then it's all shot to hell. Yes. But if he can just maintain being Derek Jeter, it's a good thing.
Over, under on the amount of games he shows up to.
I think he's going to go to several of them, silently sitting from his owner's box, because he wanted all the baseball decision-making power, despite not putting a lot of money in. If you've been following
Followed it a little bit.
All the reports about the sales, he's not really a cash cow when it comes to these groups. That's why he's gone from group to group, and a lot of groups told him to get the heck out of there because he wasn't really putting enough money in to the pot to be making all the baseball decisions. I think that he's going to take this as his job. I think he identifies himself as someone who's in baseball. I think he wants to be the face of the franchise. He wants to be the Larry Bird type, you know?
Yeah.
I think that he's going to be heavily involved. I think he's going to go to about 100 games.
100 games?
Yeah, he's going to travel with them and everything.
Whoa.
Wow. That's more than I would have expected. I like Jeter as a role in baseball. I just don't like him as an owner. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. I tried to just explain it. But to me, this is low wattage. This is not a butts in the seat situation. This is maybe tune into more games or around the country it becomes a bigger story. But I don't think this gets any more Marlins fans in that stadium. Jeets is great. Jeets deserves to be in baseball, belongs in baseball. I just think that the owner role is the most boring one possible. Clint Yates filling in here on the Dan LeBatard Show. For those of you who were listening to a different program, The Right Time with Bomani Jones last week, you might have already heard my thoughts on this, but I'm going to share them again because this is a different day part on a different program. Ezekiel Elliott is a running back for the Dallas Cowboys. He was suspended 6 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. That involved 2 separate situations, one with his ex-girlfriend and another one on a party float at St. Patrick's Day. He's apparently going to appeal tomorrow his 6-game suspension. Now, without getting too far down the line on toxic masculinity and all this other stuff, I'm going to say this, and I don't say this kind of stuff a lot. I think the NFL has handled this really well. And I don't mean in the context of, everything has been super fair and everything has been super sensible from a logic standpoint. I'm saying If they're going to decide that this is something that's going to be of importance, you're going to have to throw consistency out of the window. You really are. And I don't have a problem with doing that in terms of suspensions when it comes to matters like this. Assault allegations are basically the only thing where, not the only thing, but one of a few things where, like I said, I believe women. I don't need to give the player the benefit of the doubt in that situation. So if they're going to go 6 games off top, that's fine. But what I liked most about it was that this was pretty thorough. I mean, it took them a while. I get that. And I get that the timing feels a little bit extra punitive, but they got to put a lot of information out there. That 4-person panel, they had discussed it at length on the conference call, and the letter was all made available. It was clear why they did what they did. And I bring this all up to say that if he wins this appeal, I do not think it is a good look for the NFL. It's going to be very anticlimactic if after saying you were trying to take a tougher stance on this in terms of what was acceptable behavior for your players, you walk this one back after actually doing all the work and actually putting out all the information to people for once. To cave now, I think would look, it's not that it would look bad. I think it would send an awful message. Is 6 games harsh for a situation like that? I don't really know that I'm qualified to say that, yes or no. But that's what they said it was going to be. That was the standard they set. And for a guy like him, a young man in the league, if he ends up getting all of that, I hope that it helps him. Like, I hope that this isn't just another situation where somebody feels that they were wronged and as a result isn't going to change anything about it. I don't know that Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know him. I've met him once covering a story. But this guy's got a major reputation problem right now. There's no doubt about that. And for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, you've had, a dozen players suspended or something in the last handful of years? There's a large element of that to this as well, which I'm fine with, by the way. Which is the league saying, all right, you're running a roughshod operation. The next time this happens, and with a guy of this prominence, it's going to have to be a bigger deal than not. If you're going to find a way to effectively whisper campaign guys out of the league for taking a knee on the national anthem, it's not going to bother me at all when a guy gets 6 games for being accused of assaulting his girlfriend and what he did on that St. Patrick's Day boat. Just doesn't. I think Goodell's got a chance here to really, I don't want to say legitimize what he's chosen to do in terms of his player conduct personnel policies, but I think this is one where you just can't. It's a really tough position to take, to say that he doesn't deserve it on the grounds of what? Some fairness merit that may or may not exist in the NFL already? Perhaps. But is that really the side you want to argue on? You really want to say because one guy didn't get as many games for an assault in a domestic situation that another guy shouldn't get as many games? I don't think I'm comfortable just as a human taking that stance right now in this matter. Ezekiel Elliott's got a real issue in terms of maturity. His dad said as much going into the league. I think the suspension could do him some good. I don't like taking money and opportunities away out of guys' pockets, but in situations like this, probably deserves it. Mike, you think that he's going to get suspension appealed? You think he's going to win his appeal?
I mean, just given previous history, Josh Brown's suspension, I'm not entirely sure because the league botched the Josh Brown thing, and I think they're running out of opportunities. Well, they're always going to have the opportunity to botch stuff, but I think that at some point they got to learn. And I do think it'll do the young man good. Obviously, the allegations are one thing, but one thing I definitely know he's guilty of is terrible judgment for a young person, never mind a professional with the sort of responsibilities that he has that go along with his job. So, all in all, I think it's a good thing. I think that team's, as far as on-field, that offensive line is fine. And I think he'll be able to learn from his time off and be able to contribute to his team, and hopefully everybody's better for it. Wow, what a politically boring answer I just gave. Wow, geez. Sound like a suit.
Sound like you're running for office. But
man, this is it's an important discussion that we're having. I'm glad someone's having it.
Yes.
That's the only buzzword that I didn't include there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to really like this bit of Roy's dynamite drop-ins from the side.
Oh, that's a Roy experience.
That's really good. It's more fun from this side of the mic in many ways than even as a listener. It's funny.
I gave you garbage on Ezekiel Elliott. Wow,
you know.
Bad.
I mean, that was when you go to get you go to a restaurant or something, and they have that was a flat soda is what that was. you just want a Coke
soda.
That was a flat soda.
Flat soda. I think I credited the offensive line at some point. Jeez.
Can you name anybody on that offensive line?
Collins. And Zach Martin. And that's good enough, right? Larry Allen. Larry Allen's good.
Let me consult my pro football guide that I bought off the rack at the New Orleans airport.
Zach Martin's on there. I think Lyle Collins is there. And Larry Allen and Larry Allen.
Larry Allen. Going once. Going twice. Nope. Zeke Elliott deserves to be suspended or sat down for some time for what's happened over the past year in terms of his NFL football career. The NFL deserves credit for at least putting everything out there for what they tried to find and did find.
Your take is a lot better than mine.
If they go back on that now, they're cowards! I'm Clinton Yates. It's the Dan LeBatard Show on ESPN Radio. You're listening to the Dan LeBatard Show. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in here. Mike and I were talking during the break about where I had been since we'd last worked together. And the X Games was one of the things that I did. And I did not go to Paisley Park, home of Prince, something for which Mike admonished me for quite a bit. Because I went to a minor league baseball game. That's what I do, Mike. I go to baseball games.
I would say that a St. Paul Saints game is on my list of things to do when I visit the Twin Cities. But number one with a bullet is Paisley Park.
Fair enough. But that's the difference between you and me. I went down to see the St. Paul Saints, brought my scorecard and everything. For those of you who don't know what the movement is, hashtag kids dig the scorecard. I score every game I go to, and it is my goal this summer to make scoring games more popular amongst fans as a way to get people into the actual game of baseball.
Don't they have an app for that?
Yes, they do. But the casual elegance of scoring a game and the ritualistic appeal is not there with the app. It's not the same experience. I went to the game at St. Paul. Nice little facility, too, by the way. You might appreciate this, Mike, as a baseball guy. I mean, as a radio guy, rather. They had a 2-person PA booth who were doing the in-game things, like a man and a woman who also, I think, were like the morning radio team somewhere in town, which was an interesting element to things and a good addition to the ballpark on the minor league level.
That sounds fun.
It was fun. And I brought my scorecard, and guess what? There was another family sitting directly behind me scoring the game as well. This was very exciting stuff for me. I just want you all to know that. If you're a baseball fan and you want to teach another baseball fan or another sports fan something about baseball, teach them how to score a game. That'll help you out.
Clinton, the juxtaposition from Bodak Yellow to scoring at baseball games is quite tremendous.
Oh, dude, I'm a man of multitudes. Come on now. I mean, this is what I'm here for. I can take you up through hockey movies in Manitoba, or we can move down through Florida with your man Yates. Or we can take things to New York with Bodak Yellow. That's just how I operate. Or we could go back to Minnesota with the X Games. By the way, that stadium out there where the Vikings play is the nicest stadium I've ever been in. I haven't been to Jerry Jones's thing. I haven't been to Jerry's World.
I have.
But US Bank Stadium is the nicest facility I've ever seen in the NFL.
Was it were there a lot of dead birds on the ground?
So this is the thing that for people who don't know.
It's word association for me.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The problem
Viking
is
Stadium.
this.
Oh, yeah, that thing kills a lot of birds.
There's no dead birds because all the birds are dead, number one. Number two, the thing looks really cool. Like it's a really dope looking building. And so, I mean, look, I understand the concern about dead birds and so forth, but like when you're there, it's a really nice place. Like I was genuinely impressed with almost everything in that facility. And I don't really even care about stuff like this, but this one was a good one. The X Games were there. Had a good time with that. X Fest was fun too.
What was that X Fest? Usually they have acts. I know at the Winter X Games, a big part of it is the concert that they throw. Is it the same for the Summer X Games?
I want to say Atmosphere was there. Ooh. Some other people I'd never heard of.
The whole poetry rap thing.
It was not what I would call a Mike Ryan bill.
Yeah, the spoken word Atmosphere. I know Atmosphere is very popular.
They do a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I didn't care for the lineup. I was not around for the lineup. I wasn't interested in it personally. But Minneapolis is a nice little town. Stayed downtown there at right near the university, Gopherville or whatever. I'm just making that name up. I don't know that it's actually called that. I had a good time.
You played it off.
Yeah. What do I know? But yeah, we're here all week. I'm going to argue with Roy about hockey. I'm going to argue with Mike about music. And I'm going to yell at you all for jumping in my Twitter feed and saying dumb stuff. That's basically what I bring to the show, Mike. Just in case you didn't know. What else do you think, for the listeners who have not heard me before, Mike, in your personal opinion, I'm asking you this, what do you think I bring to the show?
You embrace the black hat. You like to be the villain.
Okay. That's fair. I don't mind being the villain. I'm the bad guy. I've been in this game for a while, though, kiddos. So you're better come correct.
You're not going to hurt Clinton's feelings if you tell him how bad you think he is.
No, we're not. But I am looking forward to some more actual sports news this week because, yes, football started back. Football started back, too. And because of this job, I got to get back into the league. It's like not watching Game of Thrones when you don't watch the NFL. And I don't watch Game of Thrones. So you're going to see me reading a lot of magazines. You're going to see me asking a lot of football questions to people who are smart. But you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to stand for any Cardi B slander. There will be none of that. Mike, I'm going to send you some mixtapes. And I would like your reviews tomorrow.
I got this Apple playlist already ready to go. Apple Music playlist. It's lit! With 3 exclamation points. I got Bodak Yellow, Perplexing Pegasus, which is apparently a Ray Shremmerd song. And I have to listen to that just because it's an amazing title.
Okay. I've never heard of that song.
Perplexing Pegasus. There's something called TK. I don't like Lil Uzi Vert. I don't like Lil Yachty.
Oh, you don't like Lil Uzi Vert and Lil Yachty?
No.
Really?
I don't like Lil Yachty at all.
Ooh.
I don't get that.
What's not to like?
Who's Sababy? Sababy. Am I pronouncing that right? Sababy.
I like Lil Yachty. I like Lil Uzi Vert.
I like Kodak Black.
Good one.
I also like Black, but it's a 6 instead of a B.
6 Lack?
Well, a lot of people call him 6 Lack, but that's not. It's apparently just Black.
It is just Black, but it's funny because he gets mad about people calling him 6 Lack. And I'm like, well, dude.
Well, you did this to yourself.
Your name is 6 Lack.
And by the way, you're 6 Lack now.
That's me?
No. 6 Lack is 6 Lack. Because if he has a nerve to be upset about it, it's entirely his fault.
I think 6 Lack is a cool name.
It's a cooler name than just Black.
That's true. Anyway, football is back. And so what I'm going to do all of this week is I'm going to relive some of my favorite moments of last NFL season. Mike is just now learning this, but they're all going to be things that I enjoy about football, which are touchdown celebrations, coach freakouts, crazy things happening in the crowd, and stuff like that. So as the week goes on, there will be some themed material that I've provided. And it will all have to do with the NFL. Because I am a league wrecker in fantasy. I'm a non-red zone watcher. And I make fun of a lot of people who watch football. But I watch it to hang out with my friends. Because that's really all that it's good for me. Mike, what's your Sunday routine on a football Sunday?
It used to be watching the red zone start to finish, just ODing on football. And now I've joined something that was started locally by, I think, a Twitter handle at Dan Gnarly, Sunday Activity Club, where instead of watching football, I do other things.
At Clinton Yates, Minnesota hip-hop is some of the most pure, realist hip-hop you'll ever hear. Shows how shallow y'all are. Hit me with the You Don't Get the Show.
You don't get the show.
This is correct. Hip-hop in Minnesota is great. But the only thing that matters for music, as far as Minnesota is concerned, is Prince. I'm Clinton Yates. I'll be here all week on ESPN Radio. I'm the bad guy, and I don't mind.
You can listen to